All right, what's up, everybody? Here for your NBA Sunday to go over some games. Obviously, we've had a good week so far. If you've been following me, probably one of my better weeks ever, actually. And I do feel like I'm getting a feel for things, but I do also just want to say, hopefully, you know this by now, but heaters are one thing, but even the best cappers have bad days. So I know one of those bad days will be coming. So keep managing your risk as I'm going to keep managing mine, but hopefully, we'll keep finding some good spots here. So we've lost 3 games today that have gotten postponed. This is probably going to be a thing for a little while here in the NBA. But we're going to walk through the games we have left. And I think there's at least a few decent spots. So some of these spreads are a little wider than I'd like to see them to really be confident. But we'll walk through the games and you can see what you think. So the first game we've got is the Miami Heat against the Detroit Pistons. The Pistons are on a back-to-back. They are still without Jeremy Grant. I mean, I'll probably remind us of that each time, but he's going to be out for a while. And then Tyler Hero's a game-time decision. I mean, it should help the Heat offensively if he can play, but the Heat seem to have gotten it going here, both offensively and defensively, kind of learning to play without Butler and Adebayo. Obviously, they're a contender with those guys back, and without them, they're not a contender, but they seem to be playing all right. Like in their last 5 away from home, they've scored 115, 101, 94, 102, 113, kind of okay, but like 100 to 113, which isn't too bad. They're 5-5 in their last 10 games, and their margin of victory has been decent when they do win, which is important today because of the spread, which I think is at 6.5 or 7.5 now. But they've won by 9 or more in 4 out of the 5 games that they've won. So when they win, they are winning fairly convincingly recently here. Detroit, on the other hand, I mean, we've covered this. They're just not good, and they can't get anything going. They are on a back-to-back, and they are 2-2 straight up on back-to-backs. When they lose, they tend to get destroyed. They got beat by like 25 plus in both of the games where they lost. They're actually 1-3. I wrote that down wrong. So yeah, getting beaten pretty badly, but that happens to Detroit a lot. So in their last 5 at home, they've actually scored the ball okay. They've been like 103 to 107 on average, which is not bad for them. But they're giving up a lot of points most of the time. They had one game where they only gave up 100, but in the others, they're giving up north of 110. So a couple key stats here. One is Miami's rebounds. So in the last 10, when they get 40 or more rebounds, they're 4-0. When they are under that, they're 1-5. So it's a pretty clear marker. Detroit allows 41.4 at home. So they're over that 40 mark on average at home. And they've allowed 40 or more in every game except for 2 this season. So Detroit's a really bad rebounding team. And even without Adebayo and Butler, the Heat have been rebounding decent lately. So this looks like a really good spot for Miami to be able to get above that key number that they need on rebounds and put them in a good spot to do well in this game. The other key number is Miami's three-point percentage. In the last 10, they're 5-0 when their three-point percentage is 40 or more, and 0-5 when it's under 40. Detroit allows 38.1% at home, so it's close to that mark. And again, Miami's been shooting it well recently. So I like their chances pretty well to hit that key number on rebounds and even on the three-point number there. Miami has had a defensive rating over 114 in 5 of their last 10 and 4 out of their last 5 away. So that is the one pitfall I see here, is that their defense, well, in terms of points allowed, has been a little better. The actual defensive rating is not good still. The issue is, though, they're taking on a terrible offensive team in Detroit. And so I don't, it's just this one spot that makes me iffy. When I look at the trends, they lean heavily toward the over, really heavily. And I think if it wasn't for the fact that Detroit lays an egg so often, going under 100 points, that kind of scares me off. I did look at Miami's team total over, and that's a spot that I like okay. I think it was at like 108.5 or something like that. And then the trends are pretty neutral in terms of Miami and Detroit against the spread here. So that's the breakdown there. This isn't a game that I necessarily love, but I guess I would lean toward Miami, even with this large point spread. And then actually probably most interested in Miami's team total over if I was going to make a pick in this game. Next game is the Spurs and the Kings. So this one, we have a lot of COVID-related news. Not on the Spurs side. They don't really have anyone of note out. But on Sacramento's side, Richaun Holmes is a game-time decision. And then here's the people out: Bagley, Davis, Fox, Len, and Davion. So a lot of key pieces out. I mean, especially if Holmes is out, Fox, Davion, they've all played important roles for this team. This is a team, Sacramento, that's really bad at defense. We've covered that a lot when we've talked. If you've been watching the NBA, you know that by now. And when you look at the people who have the best defensive ratings on the team, that was one of the things that interested me is, are these people being out? Is that a good or bad thing defensively? Because obviously offensively, it's not helpful. But Metu has the best defensive rating on the team individually at 108.4, which still isn't phenomenal, but he's best. The next two are Len and Holmes at 111. So these interior guys, while they're not great at defense, are helpful to the Kings in terms of giving some interior presence. And so we'll see if Holmes plays. I think that does matter, but they are going to be struggling today on the defensive end, and they already have been struggling. The Spurs have been playing really well away from home lately. So on the season, they score less and give up a little bit less on the road. But now that we're so far into the season, I tend to look at like the last 5 games or the last month, because those games all the way back at the beginning of the season, it was such a different team. Hey, thanks for the comment, Slip. Appreciate that. And so in the last 5, the Spurs have scored 128, 104, 112, 114, and then 90. But that 90 was all the way back on November 18th. So it's been a while. So they're averaging 114.5 in their last 4 on the road. And they're only averaging giving up 106 in their last 4 on the road. So they've really been playing well on the road. Jay Carter, thanks for the what's up, man. Appreciate it. Sacramento, if you look at their last 5 at home, they're scoring okay. Actually pretty good. Their average is 119. However, one of those games was 142 points. So I didn't toss it out when I ran the averages, but you do have to probably bring that average back a little bit, maybe 116 or so. And then they've been giving up 115.8. So they are giving up a ton of points. I like the Spurs to be able to score a lot in this game. A couple key numbers that I would look at here. The first one is San Antonio's field goal percentage. When it's over 45, they tend to win. So that's a key number for them. Sacramento's allowed over 45% from the field in 11 of 12 games, and they allow 45.4% at home. So this is a number that San Antonio absolutely should hit unless they just have a terrible game. They average 45.3% from the field away from home and have been over 45 in 7 of their last 10. So this looks like a good spot for San Antonio to have a really good offensive game. The key number on the Sacramento side is getting 24 or more assists. They're actually 9-2 straight up in when they get 24 or more assists. So actually, really good when that happens. San Antonio does allow 24.4 assists away from home, and they've allowed over 24 in 5 straight games in 8 out of 10. So this is a key thing for Sacramento, and it looks like a weakness for San Antonio. Sacramento's only been over that number, though, in 1 of their last 5 and 3 of their last 10. So while San Antonio is weak in this area, Sacramento hasn't been particularly strong recently on the assist side. They also have 3 of their top 6 assist leaders out of this game. So that's going to hurt them on the assist side as well. When we look at the trends, over-under, it's really even on both sides. And then there's actually a really strong lean in the trends towards San Antonio. I've been scanning through some different trends, and I found about 10 trends that seemed helpful or applicable here, and every single one pointed to the Spurs against the spread. So the only thing that concerns me a little bit is just San Antonio's defense and that assist total. And sometimes we've seen this in these games, is if you've been watching the NBA, sometimes when some of the key people sit out, others really do step up and they're able to get in the flow. And Sacramento still has enough decent pieces here that I could see them playing a decent offensive game still. So those are the things that maybe slow me down on this pick a little bit, but I do definitely lean toward the Spurs here. And on this game, Spurs would be, let's see, can you give out more team totals? Yeah, I will definitely work on the team totals. We had one at the beginning. I said I like Miami's team total. And I am just trying to, just so you guys know, I'm really trying to identify in each of these games, what do I think is the strongest and most likely spot? And the team totals do work out well sometimes, but it just kind of depends on the game. So in this one, San Antonio's team total to me is just too high. It was like 215.5 or 216.5. And that's just too much for me. If it came down live, I would look at it. But the spot I like most is just the Spurs. I think it's -4.5 or so. On to the next game. That is the Blazers and the Grizzlies. Just the regular people out here, not a lot of news. And if you have been watching, you know that I freaking love the Grizzlies. I love the Grizzlies without John Morant, to be specific. I mean, they've just been absolutely ridiculous on defense and actually have been super solid on offense as well. If you look at the games without Morant and leave the Oklahoma City game out, they're averaging 114.2 points a game at home and only allowing 99.4. So their point differential, scoring and allowing points, is almost 15 points since Morant's been out. That's just incredible. Portland, on the other hand, they did have a really good game this last game, but if you go look at the statistics, they just shot the lights out. Dame had a phenomenal game, and they've played worse away from home all year. And so I wouldn't expect them to have that good of an offensive game again, partly because they're away, partly because they just haven't done it consistently, and then partly because Memphis's defense has been so good that they're just not likely to allow that. Portland's only 2-10 against the spread away from home, and the most they've scored against even a decent defense, like top half defense this year, is 109 on the road. They did that twice, and then mostly they're more down around 100. So I like Portland to not score a ton of points in this game, even though they scored a lot in their last one. These two teams did play in Portland 4 days ago, and Memphis won 113-103. I think playing in Memphis is a better spot for the Grizzlies, a worse spot for the Blazers, and Memphis just beat them by 10. Now, I have talked before about how when teams play in close succession, usually the games don't look exactly the same. I mean, it can happen, but it's not common. And so that always gives me a little bit of pause of going in on the same team. And the spread here's 5.5. I would have liked to see it like 3.5 would have been nice. But man, I just think Memphis is such a strong play right now. They're one of the teams playing the most consistent and best basketball in the league against a team that doesn't play well on the road and is super inconsistent. So I do like Memphis here. Looking at the trends, there is some lean toward Memphis and then maybe the under. In terms of team totals, if I was going to take one here, it would probably be Portland under, and I think it was 107.5, something like that. I do think there's a great chance they stay under 105, and I may end up putting something on that. I haven't decided yet, but that would be that and the Memphis spread would be the two things that look best to me here. On to Dallas and Minnesota. So there's a few key pieces out. Doncic is still going to be out for the Mavericks. Bullock and Cauley-Stein are also out. Now, it's not a huge deal, but I will say that Dallas needs shooting, and Bullock has given them some shooting. So it's not that Bullock's such a big deal, but it's just somebody else has to step up then, and they have one less guy to try to run out there and get some shooting going. On the Minnesota side, Edwards and Prince are still going to be out. Having Anthony Edwards out is definitely a minus. This guy's been having a great season, and he gives them an athletic wing presence that they don't have as much when he's out. Now, like Jared Vanderbilt's been good. He's a little bit bigger wing. So it's not that they don't have anyone, but they miss Anthony Edwards when he's not playing. Dallas in their last 5 away, they had one game where they scored 139, and that was crazy. But other than that, 103, 104, 103, 93. So I've said this for a while, but I still hold to it. I think this is a team that just doesn't score a ton of points, especially away from home, especially without Luka Doncic. So yes, obviously they went off in one game and that can happen, but I don't expect it to happen regularly. Also, Dallas is only 1-4 against the spread off 2 or 3 days of rest. And they're on 3 days of rest this time and traveling away. So they haven't done well in that situation. On the other side, Minnesota, they're only 7-10 against the spread at home. So if you followed Minnesota, it's almost been like they played great and then they played like shit for a while and then they have been playing better again. And most of that traces back to D'Angelo Russell playing. And if you've been listening, I'm sorry you've heard me say this before, but I just feel like it's crazy how much Minnesota rises or falls with D'Angelo Russell, even though his numbers aren't always insane, but he just seems to be the guy that makes this team work or not. So while having Anthony Edwards out is bad, I actually like Minnesota better with Edwards out and Russell in than if that was reversed. So Minnesota in their last 5 at home, they had a few games where they gave up a ton of points, 123, 136, and 121. But all 3 of those were when D'Angelo Russell was out. The 2 of 5 that he's been in, they gave up 92 and 98. So they've actually played reasonably good defense with him in, and they have a team coming in Dallas who I don't think is very good at scoring the ball. And so I think this is a spot where, again, Dallas may struggle to score a lot. Maybe they get around that 100 mark. And so the question is if Minnesota can go over that. Minnesota's averaging 106.1 at home this year. And they've been a little bit, a little up and down, but they've been in that like 104 to 110 range a lot. One key number that I'll share here, and that's Minnesota's field goal percentage. So when they're over 43% or better, they're 10-2. Dallas allows 45.9 away from home. So that's almost 3 percentage points above that key number that Minnesota needs. They've allowed over 43 in 2 out of their last 5 and 6 out of their last 10. Minnesota only averages 41.9% at home. So they're actually a little bit under that key number in terms of their average, but they have gone over in 2 out of their last 5. So, this is like doesn't feel like a guarantee that Minnesota is going to hit that key number in terms of shooting. But if I had to put a percentage on it, I'd say it's 65 or 70%. So I lean toward the side that they'll be able to get it, even though I'm not incredibly confident. And I also lean toward the side of Dallas not being able to put up a big number here. Trends and the situation and the teams, it just doesn't look that way. When you look at the trends overall, there is a little bit of a lean to the under here. That under is pretty low. I don't remember exactly what it was, but when I saw it, it felt too close for me to want to take that. I would consider Dallas's team total under, though I don't feel really strongly about it against Minnesota specifically. And then in terms of the spread, it was pretty even. There's a little bit of a lean in the trends toward Minnesota, but it's a slight lean. So this is a game that I'm probably going to look at live a little bit. If I can get plus points with Minnesota, I'm more interested in that than anything on Dallas. But for now, I'll probably be staying away just because I don't see the strongest edges in this game. All right, we got 2 more. Ooh, a little voice crack. Hope you all enjoyed that. 2 more here. Charlotte and Phoenix. This should be a fun game. There's not major injury news here. Charlotte basically has everyone back. And Phoenix has Booker as a game time decision, so he could be back for this game. Phoenix is they're number 3 defense in terms of defensive rating. And when Charlotte plays, I looked at like the top 7 defensive ratings in the league, and they're 2 and 4 when they play those teams, but the games have mostly been close. And I think the reason that matters here is that the spread is like 7.5 now. So it's a pretty big spread. And Charlotte has Plumlee back, who's not amazing. I actually think this is a good spot for Ayton. I think he should be able to dominate inside pretty well. But Charlotte does have a really good offense, like a top 5 offense in the league. And so I think that unless they shoot really poorly, and Phoenix does play good defense, I think that they would be able to kind of hang offensively, and that 7.5 feels like a lot, especially when Charlotte's a team where Phoenix could be up by, 12 or 14 points with 5 minutes left, and Charlotte goes on one quick offensive run, and then they cover that number. And so it feels hard to me to lay that big of a number on the point spread here, even though I do prefer Phoenix. I think this line is probably about right. If it was more like 3.5, I think I would probably be interested in jumping on that. And so this is another game where I'm probably going to be watching it live. And I hate to say that because I know it's easier to take things ahead of time. But I think the over-under is at like 230.5 or something. And with Phoenix's defense, I can't confidently play over 230.5. But at the same time, I don't think I ever want to play an under on Charlotte, especially Charlotte, maybe Phoenix too. So it just doesn't feel like there's a great spot in this game betting-wise ahead of time. Like I said, I do think if you can get closer to pick them live with Phoenix, this does feel like a spot where they should be able to pull away in the long run, or pull away. I mean, get close to that point spread. That would be my guess on this game. So that's what I'm looking at there. If you have maybe you have some other info or an angle that helps you make a better bet on that game, but that's where I'm at. And then the last one is the Lakers in Chicago. And man, this one is super interesting and honestly is going to be hard to cap because of why it's interesting. So on the one side, you have the Lakers who have like half of their team out. They do have LeBron playing and Westbrook is playing, but AD is out, Bazemore, Bradley, Horton Tucker, Howard, Monk, Reeves. I mean, just very little left other than the starters. They'll have Ellington starting. They actually have Carmelo starting. DeAndre Jordan, I believe, is starting. So it's like LeBron and Westbrook, but other than that, the cupboard's pretty bare for the Lakers right now. For Chicago, they have Zach LaVine out and Ayo Dosunmu, who again, I do think matters, but have everybody else pretty much back. But they've been off since December 11th for COVID. So they've had over a week off where they haven't played a game. Now Chicago is 8-4 against the spread at home, and I do think they have the stronger roster right now for sure. Oh, dude, Kem, yeah, you're going where I'm going next. You're already on it. So I do like Chicago's roster here more, but Kem just said it's crazy. I like the Lakers more without AD. Well, here's some numbers to back that up. So the Lakers have had 3 games without Anthony Davis this year. Their offensive rating is 10 points better without him, and it's a small sample, but that's big. Their defensive rating is 7.5 points better. So a 17.5 point swing when he doesn't play compared to when he does. And I just feel like some of this is, at least the games I've watched, he seems almost like disinterested. I know he's always shot a lot of jump shots, but it seems like he just kind of hangs back, passes the ball out, maybe shoots a turnaround, isn't real aggressive on defense, at least not for more than a few minutes at a time. And so I would agree that this team hasn't looked as good when Davis has been playing. Now the question is, can Russ and LeBron play together? And they're probably both going to play like 40 minutes. And do they get tired or anything doing that? And then how does Chicago come back after such a long layoff? So this is a spot where the trends actually do lean pretty strongly to Chicago, and they lean pretty strongly to the under. I think for me, in terms of pregame bets, it would be the under or I would pass, and then either the Bulls or I would pass. But those numbers about how the Lakers are without Anthony Davis are the thing that might keep me off of the Bulls pregame. I haven't made a final decision about that. I just get a little wary about betting a team that's been off for over a week. We see teams come back from just like a 3 or maybe 4 day layoff and struggle to kind of get their rhythm back. And so I just worry that could be the case with Chicago tonight. Normally in this matchup, I would like them more, but that and AD being out are the things that might keep me off of it. So that's what I'm looking at for today. I'll get my official picks out here in just a little bit. Hopefully there was some information there that's helpful to you that you can use. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Please do hit the like, subscribe if you haven't. Appreciate you doing that, and look forward to interacting with you on Twitter. And hopefully we can extend this last day of the week, man. I'm hoping to maybe get up to 30 units even. Okay, before I sign off, Jay Carter asks, what about the Bulls first half? So, dude, that's what I would be most wary of. I mean, maybe they'll come out hot, but I would lean more toward betting the Bulls at halftime for the second half, because I just don't know if they're going to have any rhythm when they come out. I think that it could be a rough start for them. Obviously, I've been wrong plenty of times, and I might be wrong today, but just my take on that is, if I was going to bet the first or second half for the Bulls, I would look more at betting them at halftime than I would betting their first half. So, right. So he's saying he was saying the reverse. So yeah, I haven't done as well betting halves, to be honest, but some of you I think have a good read on those things. And if you like Lakers first half, I think there's at least some reason to think that could be a good call. So those are things that I tend to stay off, but if you like it, I could understand why you would. So, all right. If you have any other thoughts or questions, always can DM me at NBA Attack on Twitter. And thanks for watching. And we'll try to keep the streak going. All right. Have a good day, everybody.